you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. My name is Devin and I hope that you will consider sticking around and subscribing. And if you're not new, as always, welcome back. You know I love you. So today's video is going to be part 2 in kind of like a 2-part series that I am doing on this look. So this is my signature bridal makeup look, and if you are watching this and you have not already seen part 1 was focused on the eyes. So it was a full tutorial on how to get this eye look. And then this part 2, is going to be focused on the complexion and the skin and the foundation and the concealer and the cream contour and everything. So because I really wanted to break this look down and explain it and talk about the products that I'm using and why and the techniques and everything like that, I thought that it would be best to split this video into 2 parts. That being said, we have a lot to go over. I will let you know that all of the products that I use today in this video are from my own collection. So some of them do overlap with products that I also keep in my kit. So these aren't necessarily things that I use on clients. Some of them are, some of them aren't, but either way, you get the idea of the look and the technique and everything that we're going for to achieve this glam. So if that sounds interesting to you, again, we're gonna be talking about everything complexion today. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. Okay, let's get into the bridal glam for the face. So I'm gonna go ahead and prime my face. This is the Fenty Hydrating Pro Filter Primer. I have the original Pro Filter and the matte Pro Filter in my kit. Or maybe it's the hydrating one. I have like a more hydrating one and a more matte one in my kit. So I am currently using the Fenty primers on clients. But, you know, I like to test things out myself as well. So I just get that on my hands and work it all over my face. When I do this on clients, I use a brush to apply primer and skincare and stuff like that. I very rarely use my fingers to touch my client's face. Not that a lot of artists do use their fingers to like blend things in. As long as your hands are clean, that's obviously not a problem. I just prefer to use brushes, I guess. I don't know, it's just what I'm comfortable with. I really got into doing makeup during like COVID eras on clients, so I guess I just kind of like got used to being super sanitary and not touching anything. So I still do that. Okay, next we're gonna go in with foundation. So I'm going to use the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Foundation today. I have 2 shades here. I have 3 neutral and 7 warm. If you've watched my videos before, you've probably heard me say I like to keep 2 shades of my foundations at all times. One that kind of matches my natural skin tone and one that's more of a tan shade, so that I can mix these together depending on how much of a tan I have, if I'm doing a fake tan or whatever. So this also is the primary foundation that I've been using on my clients in my kit as well. So let me get this kind of mixed together and then I'll tell you a little bit more about this foundation. So I do have a self tan on, but I'm kind of at the end of this bottle and it did not get as dark as I was expecting it to, so I definitely need to mix these 2 shades. So I'm just gonna start with 1 pump of 7 warm and 1 pump of 3 neutral, and I'm gonna see where that gets us in terms of color match. So I'm just taking my finger and mixing this in on the back of my hand. Again, if I was doing this on a client, I mix my shades together all the time because I don't keep every single shade of every single foundation in my kit. That would be crazy. So usually when I'm color matching somebody, I am mixing shades together. I don't do it on the back of my hand. I do it on a metal mixing palette, but you get the point. Yeah, I think this shade will work okay for us today. So I'm using a beauty blender on myself. On clients, I'm usually using the Sigma F80 Flat Kabuki. I also do keep disposable. I don't use beauty blenders on clients. I use disposables. Anyway, as you can see, this foundation has a really beautiful coverage. It is definitely more of a matte foundation. It's not glowy at all. So this really is made for a full coverage, flawless glam that is going to stay on your face all day. It's a silicone-based foundation. Silicone-based foundations are better for bridal because they are longer wearing. The silicones in the formula will help smooth skin texture and things like that a little bit more than a glowy foundation will. So That's why it's really good to have silicone-based foundations in your kit. It's good to use a silicone-based foundation if you are going to be sweating, if you're going to be in the heat, if you need it to last all day, if you're going to be photographed. You definitely want a foundation like this. So this foundation is not for the faint of heart. I mean, I just used a pump of each. So 2 pumps of foundation pretty much covered my entire face. I just need to use a little bit more to blend the sides of my forehead here, but you want to kind of go in with a light hand with this because you can always build it up if you feel like you want more coverage on yourself or your clients. But if you go in with too much right away, it's obviously a little bit harder to remove. So the only clients that I don't put this on are if somebody tells me they are so dry. Like if somebody has dry skin, I'm not putting this foundation on them because it's so matte. It really does not offer any hydration at all. So I will use my Too Faced Born This Way foundation on people who say that they are dry. But if someone's like, I'm oily and I'm gonna get shiny, I'm like, cool. Even if somebody says they have normal skin, I'm like, cool. Charlotte Tilbury, this is what we're doing. Now for concealer. So I have my Too Faced Born This Way concealer. Again, these are from my personal collection, but this is the concealer that I use on my clients. I have the shades Porcelain and Vanilla here. I think Porcelain is a little bit lighter. So I'm gonna go in with that to start. Again, if I was doing this on a client, I would not go directly in with the applicator. I would get it on my palette and use a disposable first and then go in from there. But I'm just going to use this to brighten up the under eyes. Okay, now time for cream contour. So I am actually going to use the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer in the shade Honey Drip. This is great for clients who have like a light to medium skin tone, especially for cream contour because it's a bronzer, but it leans a little bit more neutral. I'm picking it up on, this is like a packing brush. It can be like a concealer brush, an eyeshadow packing brush, just something small like this so we can kind of get the placement. And then we'll blend it out. I am going to just place this where I want it. So for me, I have a heart-shaped face, so I like to have a little bit more of a shadow on, kind of on like the outer corners of my forehead. And then I'll just kind of bring it across up here to make sure we're connected. And then same thing down the other side. So I am going to stop here and take my brush and blend this out. I feel like you see, you know, we all see on Instagram and stuff, like a lot of artists kind of striping the whole face and then blending it out. I think that a lot of times that is like more for the visual effect than anything else, to kind of like see the placement of the contour before it's blended out, kind of like a before and after. But for me, I feel like if I do that, sometimes the product starts to dry down and it's harder to blend, and you do end up trying to blend out like stripes, literal stripes on somebody's face. So what I've been doing recently in my process is just taking it in steps and blending it out and then continuing to kind of go down the face. So I like to start on the forehead, blend it out, and then move on to the cheekbones and so forth. So you also want to make sure too, like if you're using a brush, if you're using a blender, to kind of go back over top with whatever tool you were using that has a little bit of foundation left over on it, because that will help prevent you from getting like kind of like that ring of bronzer on the forehead. You want to make sure that everything is nice and blended and there's not a stark difference between where there's foundation and where there's bronzer. So now a little bit more on our brush. We're gonna do the cheekbones. I like to start back here towards this little thing in your ear. There's a word for this and I don't know what it's called. And then I like to come straight towards the center of the face, but I like to place the color actually right on top of the cheekbone as opposed to below it, because then as you blend it out, it will diffuse. Whereas if you start below and then blend it out, it can kind of come down too far and drag down the face. So I actually like to just follow the natural cheekbone, starting at the back. And you can feel when you press your brush down, like you can see, that's my cheekbone right there. And I'm just bringing that forward. Just kind of making sure I have enough here. And then same thing on the other side, and we're gonna try to keep them even. Some people's cheekbones are naturally up higher. Most people's cheekbones are naturally up higher on one side than they are on the other. You know, most people don't have perfectly symmetrical faces. This cheekbone that I'm doing right now is definitely my higher side. Typically the side that you turn, I learned this in my Lauren D'Amelio course. A lot of times the side that people turn to when they take photos tends to be their higher side. So when you're doing contour, see, even where I put that, you can see my natural cheekbone that I was following is up a little bit higher on this side than on this one. So you do, when you're doing this, want to try to even them out as much as possible. And I don't pretend to be a contour expert. This is definitely one of the things that I'm still working on. But I do think it makes such a difference in the makeup application when you do it. So same thing, now I am going to take my brush and blend this out, and I'm gonna work this up towards the hairline, again, just to make sure we are lifting everything up. I still like to get a little bit of the contour product on whatever brush I'm using to blend it out once I've placed it, because I feel like it helps kind of diffuse it and blend it out and not pick up too much of the foundation, you know? Just kind of make sure that we have enough product on the brush. You guys see how nice that is? Like, this is such an affordable product from e.l.f., but it is so freaking good. So easy to work with. The undertones are great. I'm just saying, if it works, you know? See, and look at that sculpt. Look at that just like dimension we're building in the face. I love it. Love it, love it. So then I'm also gonna bring this a little bit around just kind of like the jawline as well. So I'm just gonna pick it up directly on my brush. I'm not gonna bother kind of like striping it because it doesn't, the precision underneath here doesn't matter quite as much. So I'm gonna start back here and just blend underneath. And this will help give a little bit more definition to you or your client's jawline. I, you know, have gained a little bit of weight recently, so my double chin has been popping a little bit more than I would like it to. So I really like to contour under here as well to try to cast a little bit of a shadow. And this will give a nice like shape to your clients, especially if they're, you know, being photographed from the side. It gives a really beautiful definition to their jawline. You just want to make sure that you really blend this because you don't want to give anybody the appearance of like a 5 o'clock shadow or anything like that. But again, it just helps give a little bit of extra sculpt to your client's bone structure. Okay, and then lastly for the nose, I'm gonna pick up some of this bronzer on a pencil brush and I'm gonna bring it down the sides of my nose. My nose is definitely something that I want to appear smaller than it is. So you want to make sure that you are keeping a straight line here. Again, this is really like, your placement really does depend on the shape of your client's nose. Not everybody's nose is obviously shaped the same. Some people might not need their nose contoured, like they might have a small nose already and you don't want to over contour it or anything like that. But for me, I definitely would like my nose to be smaller. And I learned this from my friend Steph, who is also a makeup artist here in Tampa. She said if you go like under here, it kind of gives the appearance of like a more turned up little button nose. So then again, I will take whatever utensil I was using for foundation. I kind of like the sponge for this because I can kind of use the tip of the sponge to get a little bit more precise. And I'm just gonna blend out those lines so that they're not quite as harsh. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little bit of my concealer and I'm just gonna go really thin straight down the center of my nose now that we've placed that cream contour. Having it really bright in the center and then having that contour on the sides will give the illusion of like the sides of your nose being pinched in, but then still having like your nose bone basically highlighted. It just kind of gives that effect of like a more pinched in nose. Trying trying to give myself a nose job here, basically. Okay, friends, we are sculpted, so now it is time to start setting things down. So I'm gonna take my Beauty Bakery Flour Powder. This is in the shade Oat. This is one of my favorite setting powders of all time. I'm just gonna get it on a little brush like this and get it into the cap here. I am just lightly tapping that in. You don't want to swirl it like this because that will run a greater risk of kind of picking up the makeup that you've already laid down. So you still want to use the same kind of pressing motion to push the powder into the makeup as you would with... Okay, sorry guys, I'm not sure where I got cut off. My camera stopped recording because my card was full and I had to delete some footage off of it. Anyway, I kind of forget what I was saying, but basically just kind of use your brush to lightly press the powder into the makeup, and this will set it down, add longevity, all of that good stuff without adding too much powder to the face and you know, having it go on too thick or, dare I say, cakey. I hate that term because makeup is makeup, and I just feel like that's a term that people who don't wear makeup a lot use to describe makeup, when it's just like, it's not that the makeup is cakey, it's just that it's something on your face that is not your skin, you know? But for lack of a better term, cakey. Okay, so at this point I will go in with powder bronzer. So this is my Makeup by Mario powder bronzer in the shade Light Medium. I don't carry this in my kit. I have the Charlotte Tilbury and the Jaclyn Hill bronzers in my kit. So I just have this one for myself. I honestly have an undecided opinion on it. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I love this. This is like such a beautiful color, such a beautiful bronzer. And then other times I feel like it's kind of hard to blend. So I actually think it might depend on the brush that I use with it, but I don't know, it's looking pretty good here. But anyway, I'm using this to go over where we placed our cream contour, just to warm up the face a little bit and add some longevity. One of the biggest things with bridal makeup is layering your cream and your powder products to give longevity to the makeup. Obviously, the trick and the art of it is doing that in layers so that it lasts, but it's not too heavy on the skin. That's kind of the finesse of your bridal makeup artists. They kind of figure out their own style and their own way to make that happen. But I definitely like to make sure I go over with a powder bronzer because, again, as a bride, whether you're doing your own makeup or you're getting your makeup done, what you have to understand is that you are going to be photographed all day under bright lights, out in the sun, and no matter what, the camera of your photographer and your videographer is going to wash you out because of however it translates on the camera. And then also the edits and the presets and the filters that your photographer is going to use to give your wedding photos that signature look, whatever their style is that you booked them for. All of those edits and stuff like that are going to wash you out. So yes, you need to be over bronzed, and yes, you need to be over blushed. I'm just saying, you need color in your face. Even if it might look like a little too much when it's first applied, I promise you it's going to look absolutely amazing in your pictures. I'm just saying, nobody wants to look pale and washed out in their pictures, right? You want to look healthy and alive. And bronzer and blush are the key to that. Okay, so for my personal process right now, I actually don't do cream blush or cream highlight. I stop with kind of the cream contour, and then I set everything down, and then I finish everything off with powder. So we are gonna go in with a powder highlight today. Again, every artist has their own process, and you know, my process has been constantly evolving since I started doing makeup almost 5 years ago at this point. So this could change, but for where it stands right now, I like a powder highlight and a powder blush. So I'm gonna use this one from Jaclyn. This is in the shade Sparks. It's a nice like gold toned highlighter. This is not a highlighter that I keep in my kit. I have a palette from Sigma that I use for highlighter, but same thing. So I'm just going to apply this to the cheekbones. This is a Sigma Soft Blend 60. I'm not sure, this brush was from like a limited edition set, which is why it's gold. I'm not sure if they have this, you know, in their existing collection, but I actually really do like this for highlighting. It's nice and fluffy, and I feel like it just kind of coats the cheekbone all in one shot. And then for blush today, I'm going to use one of the new Too Faced ones, which I am so excited about. Again, I bought this when I did their my order for their friends and family sale, and I've heard such good things about this blush, but I haven't tried it yet. I will say this is a small blush for something that's like almost $30, but the packaging is adorable and I really wanted to try this out. So this is their Cloud Crush Blurring Blush in the shade Velvet Crush. That's a mouthful. So as you can see, this is kind of like a beautiful rosy neutral blush color. So I thought that this would be really pretty for bridal, and I also feel like this would be something that I could use all the time as like a versatile everyday kind of blush. But I am going to just pop this on the cheekbones, again kind of going up towards the temple to lift the face. But I don't know, blush placement I feel like is definitely personal preference as well. I like blush like in here because I like that really like flushed look, and I like having color in the center of my face. Some people like to keep it more kind of on the outside of the eye. So whatever your personal preference is, but I kind of like to just like go from here all the way up with my blush and just kind of be a little extra with it. So okay, you guys, so that is the process for complexion. This is the point where I will go ahead and fill in the brow. So I'm just gonna do that really quickly. I do use these NYX micro brow pencils in my kit. I love them. They are just the best. I don't really venture towards anything else. And I love using this on myself as well. So I either use this or I will use the Sigma brow powders, which I really like. I actually think the Sigma brow powder formula is better than the Anastasia one. It's a little bit easier to blend and easier to work with. So it just kind of depends on what people like. If they don't like too much of a structured brow, if they just want a little bit of definition, I'll use the powder. But if they like something a little bit more structured, or if they say, yeah, I fill my brows in every day with a pencil, then I know, okay, like they're used to having their brows filled in. I can go in with a pencil and it won't overwhelm them. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fill these in to finish this off, and then we'll be done. All right, you guys, so that is pretty much it for the complexion besides setting spray. But before I go in with setting spray, I want to finish up my eye look and just make sure everything is kind of done so we can set it all at once. So I'm going to go finish filming the eye portion of this look, and I will be right back and we'll finish up with setting spray and then we'll be done. All right, you guys, we are back with the rest of our makeup done. So here's a little preview of the look. I hope you guys like it. I explained my lipstick in the eye video of this little two-part bridal look series, so definitely go ahead and watch that video after this. But I'll just tell you really quickly, my lip combo is the Makeup by Mario lip pencil in the shade Almond, and then the ColourPop lippy sticks in the shade Dream Date. And then I finished it off with the NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Fortune Cookie, and it created this beautiful bridal nude. I really, really like this combo. So let's go ahead and finish off the complexion with setting spray. So what I like to do on most of my clients, depending on their skin type, I will kind of tailor this to that. But on most people, I like to double set. So I like to use a hydrating setting spray, and then I like to use a more mattifying, like lock it in, basically Urban Decay all-nighter setting spray, if you know what I mean. So I did just pick up these two from Too Faced. This Hangover 3-in-1 is a favorite of mine. I absolutely love it. When I first built my kit, I had this combo in my kit and I loved using it. I used it on many a bride. But then I also picked up this Too Faced Makeup Insurance, which is their newer setting spray. And this has the 18-hour wear, long wear setting spray tag on it or description on it. So I'm going to double set with these two today. So this is going to be my hydrating one. I'm going to go ahead and shake this up. It says to shake it well. And then I'm going to spray this all over. I freaking love this setting spray so much. It's so good. It's so hydrating. It feels so fresh on the skin, and it's not like heavily fragranced or anything like that, but it has a certain smell to it that is so nostalgic for me because I was obsessed with this setting spray when I like first started getting into makeup, when I first started doing YouTube videos, when I first started learning how to do bridal makeup and stuff like that. I use that setting spray all the time on myself and in my kit. So it's just so nostalgic for me. It just reminds me of like, it kind of like reminds me of why I started, you know, and where I was when I started, and just loving makeup so much and wanting to make a job out of it. So anyway, that's a very, I have a lot of my heart attached to this setting spray apparently. And then we're gonna go in with this one. So this has like a little agitator in it. You can hear it as I'm shaking it up here. So I'm gonna shake this, and then this should be kind of like our locked and loaded spray. So I don't know, we'll see how we like this. Maybe this will make its way into my kit if I do. So, all right, finishing touches. Ooh, that has a nice smell to it too. What is it? It smells familiar. It smells like something, but I'm not sure what. What am I smelling? Johnson & Johnson baby shampoo? Is that what it's reminding me of? You guys know that smell that I'm talking about? I like it. I do have a fan. I have another fan like this in my kit that I fan my clients with too. They always like that at the end of the application. It feels nice. All right, we're done. All right, you guys, so here we are with the finished look. Again, if you're interested in seeing how I did the eyes for this look, that video is already up by the time you're watching this one. So if you have not yet, definitely go ahead and watch part 1, and then you can kind of learn how this whole look comes together in its entirety. Either way, I hope that you guys like this. I hope that it was helpful. I hope it was educational and informative, whether maybe you're a makeup artist still learning, or you're wanting to get into bridal, or you're just looking for some inspiration for different looks to do on your clients. I hope that maybe you learned something from my particular style. And also, if you're a bride that's just looking to do your own makeup for your wedding or your elopement or whatever it is, that's totally fine too. And I hope that this was educational for you as well. And I think that is going to be it for this video. So I will catch you guys in my next one. Mwah. Love you. Bye.